Thank you very much for coming to this seminar. Slavko, Hadžić, and myself, Nikolla, will be leading this seminar on the topic of developing our skills in public speaking. Developing our skills in public speaking is the topic of this seminar, so if you're in the wrong room, you might want to leave. But thank you for coming. I hope many of you, or most of you, or all of you, were also attending John Lennox's talk on Abraham, and he talked a lot about language, and I was so happy that he mentioned the importance of language, because when we talk about public speaking, speaking has to do with language, right? Also inspired by what John said on the importance of languages, I'll start this seminar by a quote from a man called Lionel Kendrick, not Lionel Messi. He said, "May we treasure the divine gift of communication, and may we use it wisely to build up and to assist others on this marvelous journey through immortality." There were many things that John touched on that are included in this quote. Communication, a divine gift. God has given us language. God has enabled us to communicate. It's a divine gift. And then may we treasure it. May we use it wisely to build. Because we can use it unwisely to also destroy. May we use it wisely to build. And then to build each other in this journey. John talks about the journey. In this journey of mortality. So what's going to happen in this seminar? I'm going to talk about two questions. What is public speaking? And what are the main parts of public speaking? And then Slavko is going to come up and talk about what is important in developing the skills of public speaking. Slavko will talk about important things that we should consider and practice in developing our skills in public speaking. So let's go immediately into the first question. What is public speaking? In terms of a definition, we can say that public speaking is giving a speech in front of an audience regarding a certain topic. This last bit is very important. Public speaking is not just speaking in public. It's not just babbling, just saying things that have no connection. Public speaking is giving a speech in public about a certain topic. You are giving a speech about a topic. You're speaking about something. And that is then public speaking. It's not just speaking for the sake of speaking. We can even go further and unwrap this definition and say that public speaking is the process of communicating information directly from a speaker to an audience. So public speaking is actually what the terms say. It's speaking, communicating an idea, a big idea, and talking a lot about that big idea if you like, or talking as much as you're allowed, as much time as you're given to talk, but talking to other people. So communicating directly from speaker to the audience. In fact, one of the US presidents has said public speaking is diluting a 2-minute idea in language that takes 2 hours. The importance of this quote is this. You need to have one big idea. You need to be communicating something. And that is public speaking, is the process of communicating one big idea. And you can say many things about this one big idea. But you need to have something to say before you get in front of people, and before you get engaged in public speaking, you need to have something to say. Now, you might say, why am I in this seminar? I think, in spite of Slavko and myself, you did well to come to this seminar, because if you have never been giving speeches in public, which I doubt, you will still be, because public is even when you're speaking to one other person. So you have all been engaged in public speaking in that sense. You've all been engaged, and you will all be required to be engaged in the process of communicating information to other people. one or many people. And so speaking directly to an audience, you'll have a birthday and people will say, speech, speech, speech. There will be a family occasion, anything. In the most unexpected places, sometimes I've been asked to stand up and say something. And that is public speaking. Public speaking. It's giving a speech. So when we say giving a speech, it's important to also emphasize that speech or speaking is the main function of language. Why is this important? This is important because we have heard that faith comes by hearing from the Word of God. And of course, faith comes from communication is not achieved only by language. Communication is not achieved only by speaking. And we had a great sample talk in the main session this morning where it was illustrated clearly that there are other ways of communication except for speaking. However, the main function of language is speaking. And language is the first and foremost means of communication. And language realizes this function through speech. And when we think of language, language is first of all for the tongue. It's to be spoken. The word is so important. Almost everyone has been or will be involved in some kind of public speaking. Well, when we come to Foyer, we are especially invited to come and think about being engaged in public speaking. Think about learning how to best communicate one idea, and that big idea for us is the message of salvation, is the gospel. How to communicate that message to other people. Now, most of what is true of public speaking is helpful because it is also true of communication through writing. Because writing is also using the language. But remember, the language is first and foremost for the tongue. It's not for the hand. It's not even for the eye. So communication is a divine gift. We should use it. We should use it wisely. We should use it to build others. And we should use it to communicate a big idea, something that is very important. And in our context, what is more important than the gospel? So that is in terms of starting with the definition of what public speaking is. If you have any comments or questions in the very end, if we'll have time, we can talk more about the definition. Now, my second question, before Slavko comes up, is what are the main parts of public speaking? There are three main parts to public speaking. And don't confuse those with what we've been doing for those of us involved in small groups and sharing talks. Don't confuse those three main parts with identification, persuasion, and invitation. We're talking about how the whole message, how the whole talk, how the whole speech, what you communicate, how it is built. The three main parts of public speaking are introduction, argument, and conclusion. Every piece of communication, every speech, that is to say, must have those three main parts. And I'll just briefly go through the three main parts of public speaking. And I will not go into details for the sake of time, but I think this will be enough just to remind us of what we already know, but especially to make us aware whenever we prepare a talk, whenever we stand up in front of people to speak, to make us aware that we need to have those three main parts in mind. Now, introduction. What is introduction? Introduction is, guess what? I have something to tell you. Introduction is standing in front of people and saying, I'm going to talk about this. So, in the introduction, you present your big idea. You present your the core. What is the essence of what you are trying to communicate? So the introduction should be something that draws attention. The introduction should be something that helps people know what they're in for, what they're going to listen to, what's going to happen, and gives them an idea also of the process of how that is going to be achieved. So the introduction should take its time. It doesn't have to be, because it's not the body, it's not the argument, it's not the main part of public speaking. It doesn't have to be short. It can very well take more, about 10% or more than the whole time that you have to communicate. So give its importance to introduction. Introduction is very important. People need to know what they're in for, what they're going to hear. So guess what? That's the introduction. Then the argument is, here is what. In the argument, in the second part of the speech, you develop your argument. You present what you said in the introduction that you're going to present. You tell people what. So introduction, guess what? The argument, this is what. And here, again, it's so important that you have clear points, you have a clear structure, you show that you have unity between the points. It's so important that there is logic, there is ethos, and there is pathos. Logic means the points are clearly related to the big idea, to the main idea. That is, you use reason, you use logic, and then you use ethos. You state those as beautifully as you can. So it's very important that you word the points in such a way that the words paint pictures and the words speak to the listener. And then also pathos. You speak, you say these things in a way that communicates to the audience that you yourself believe these things as well. You feel the same thing that you want them to feel. You're not just communicating information that is theoretical only and has nothing to do with your experience. So the argument is probably going to take the biggest part of your public speaking, your speech, your talk, developing this big idea that you introduced in the introduction. And then the third and last part of public speaking is the conclusion. The conclusion is basically a summary of what you have developed in the argument, what you promised to develop in the introduction. It's restating in different words what you have already said. The conclusion basically answers the question, so what? Guess what? Introduction. This is what? The argument. Now, so what? What do I do with this? That is the conclusion. And to illustrate the three parts with a flight, with an airplane trip. The introduction is like the takeoff moment. When you take off, it's something that really draws your attention. Even if you were waiting for a long time before the plane took off and you were drowsy or sleepy, when the plane takes off, it gathers so much speed and it's a little bit bumpy and you hear it. So introduction, you go with a bump, you draw the attention. And then the argument is when you have reached your, whatever they say technically in flights, the cruising altitude, when you have, and there you need to really go from A to B. In the argument, you need to be moving forward. You need to take the audience through the big idea, step by step, from one point to another. And then the conclusion is like the landing. It's horrible when the pilot has announced that now we're about to land, and the plane goes down and then up again and down. No, smooth landing. The conclusion needs to be smooth. The conclusion needs, people shouldn't be scared by the landing. The takeoff and the landing, they say, are the most dangerous parts of the flight. And you need to really pay as much attention to takeoff and landing introduction and conclusion as the argument, as the flight itself. The landing is very important. And so with this illustration, I will leave you and come back later if there are any questions about what I have said. But Slavko will come now and help us see what is important for us to do in order to develop all these three elements in our public speaking.
Thank you very much, Zef. This was very informative and good. I will continue now with some practicalities, and I will speak. There are quite few things that I want to speak about, but short time, so I will not spend much time on each. But at least you can write down and work on them. And as I've said, there will be time for questions at the end. But I want to speak about importance of gathering informations, importance of practicing, of getting feedback, of mentoring, non-verbal communication, and use of visual aids and arts. This is talk on developing our skills in public speaking in generally, but we, of course, at the foyer, we have focus on evangelistic talks. And I would really recommend you all got, if you didn't get hard copy, we ran out of them, you got them by email, so read this booklet, Preparing Evangelistic Talk. You will find many useful information there, especially related to identification, persuasion, and invitation. But let's go back to our topic. So when we are thinking of developing our skills, we need, if we want to give good public talk, we need to be well informed about topic that we are talking about. So be informed. How we are getting informed? By reading, by talking to people, by maybe today with YouTube and everything, watching some videos or looking what some other people said about the topic that we are speaking about. As a Christians, it's essential that we know what the Bible is saying about certain topic. So study well in the Bible. And when we are preaching in the church, I would say, you don't need much more than knowing the Bible. But when we are giving evangelistic talk, we want to be good in identification and to speak to people where they will understand us. So we also need to know what they know about the topic, what questions they have. So read widely, is that good English word? Like not narrow, read widely, read different sources. In the talks, we often, in evangelistic talk, it's good to use good quotes. The emphasis is on good. Don't just put any quote. And we Christians, we have tendency to use Christian quotes. Some are very good, some are excellent. But if I say to the non-Christian audience that I'm evangelizing, as Billy Graham said, or C.S. Lewis, or those names are very well known to us, but not necessarily to them. Also read local writers and local sources. Sometimes here at Foyer, we hear some speaker from the Western world quoting someone from the Western world, and that's good also, but it's even better if we quote some writer from our context. So read and make some database. When you are reading, make some database of the quotes. You are reading and you are thinking, oh, this is really good quote for the talk on suffering, or this one is really good on the talk of love. So use highlighter and make database. Also speak with people, speak with non-Christians. Ask, you heard today from Samuel, how they are gathering questions that people raise, and know where they are. Second thing is practice. It's very important, especially if we are just starting in giving public talks, that we practice. I started preaching, and preaching is one form of public speech. I remember some 25, 30 years ago when I was preaching first sermon, I was so nervous that I had to pull pulpit all the way back that I can lean with my back to the wall. I was so nervous, I thought I will fall down on the ground. But I'm remembering that I was practicing that first sermon in front of the mirror. I'm not doing that anymore, but it's good to practice your talk. Go through your talk. Now, when I'm going through my talk, when I'm practicing before, then I'm giving talk first time, I'm not speaking aloud in front of the mirror, but I'm going through talk in my mind. It's very, very important to practice. Also, we need to be aware of time, that we don't take too much time or that we don't spend too much time on the first point and then we have to rush through the second point. And by practicing, we are getting that awareness of the time and how we will use time in our talk. Also, another thing which we can and need to practice is nonverbal communication, but I will come to that later because I think that's very important thing in developing our skills in public speaking. Next thing is feedback. Always ask for feedback. We've heard from several speakers actually when we were listening sample messages here. I think that Kaz on the first day said, I have few variations of this talk. Luke Colley also said the same thing. And when we are giving evangelistic talks, usually we don't give talk only once. So talk on suffering, if we are evangelists, if we are going to different places to give talk, there are some topics that are repeating quite often. So, quote, talk on suffering I gave several times. I don't know number, but probably at least 6-7 times. And each time that talk or any talk that is repeating is improving. It should improve. How? Because we will ask for feedback. Have someone in the audience who knows about public talk and especially public evangelistic talk and ask for the feedback. Don't ask anyone. If you need some information, you need to be careful where to go for the information. If I'm ill, I will not go to car mechanic to ask him what to do. Or if my car is broken, I will not go to doctor. So if you need advice on your public evangelistic talk, if there is another evangelist in the audience, go and ask. You can also ask for feedback even before then you give talk. You can send outline to your colleague, to your friend, or what is actually next point, to your mentor, if you have one. I wrote half of the book. I'm still not on the place to write all book, but I wrote half. It's evangelistic book. My good friend and I wrote it. And 8 chapters in the book are actually 8 evangelistic sermons that we preached on the cross. Each of us preached 4. And what we did, we were preaching in our church those evangelistic sermons once a month. We take turns. And then we ask all church, please, after the sermon, come back to us with the feedback. And we were considering feedback, what we got, and then made some adjustments. Feedback is very important. Mentoring. Michael Lutz was speaking today about that, and he presented that book, and he interviewed his mentor. If you have opportunity, especially if you are young evangelist, try to find someone who can speak into your life and who can help you to develop as public evangelist. Thanks God for really public evangelism. We don't have many public evangelists, and sometimes it's really lonely ministry. So thanks God for this network that we have each other and that we can help each other. So if you want to develop your skills in public evangelism, find someone that you can be completely transparent and open, and someone who is willing to invest in you and to speak into your life. We say in my culture, we have a proverb, we say that the hard way is to learn from your experience and the easy way is to learn from someone else's experience. So if there is possibility, use that opportunity. Now, nonverbal communication. I may spend a little more time on this because it's often neglected, but it's very important when it comes to public speaking. Some experts said that 2/3 of communication is nonverbal communication, and 1/3 actually spoken word. I don't know if I agree with that and what exactly percentage is, but nonverbal communication is very important. What is nonverbal communication? Nonverbal communication are face expressions. Nonverbal communication is, I think that English word is proxemic, but actually it's use of the space and of your body. Nonverbal communication also is the way how you dress or jewelry which you have on yourself. We want to remove all possible obstacles that may be obstacles to people to hear the message that we want to communicate to them. And we want to communicate same thing verbally and non-verbally. For example, if I'm speaking now and if I say, I'm very excited, or if I say, I'm very excited about that, it's different, isn't it? Or if I tell you, today I have really big news for you. So my body language is communicating opposite. I need to say, I have big news for you. I was a young preacher and I was visiting one church. The pastor of that church was my teacher of hermeneutic and homiletics. And I was preaching in his church. I was a little bit nervous and I said to him, please, brother, I want to hear your feedback, so, give me some advice at the end. And I was preaching, and at the end, I asked him, so do you have any advice for me? And he said to me, Slavko, when you want to stretch your hands when you are speaking, don't do like this, do like this. I was thinking, is that best advice that you could give me? I was expecting that he will give me some advice on the content of what I was saying, not how I'm stretching my hands. And I made a joke. I told him, our church is really small back home. If I stretch hand like this, I hit the walls. If our church is big, it's easy for you. But we need to pay attention at our body language. You probably experienced, you said to someone or you've heard from someone, why are you looking me that way? And person even doesn't have to say anything. Why are you looking at me? We are communicating a lot non-verbally, and we need to be aware of that. I was speaking also about way how we dress or what jewelry we have. Again, we want to remove those obstacles. People unconsciously, psychologists said, in first few minutes are making decision if someone or something is worth of listening or not, unconsciously. And that's why it's important also what Zef was saying about introduction and that beginning. It's important to go like an airplane, to communicate to people in the beginning, this is worth it to listen. And we want to remove all obstacles to that. Position of our body. There is something what is called low power and high power position. Low power is when you are insecure. You put your shoulders down, level of your voice is low, you look in the floor. Or there is high power position when you are confident. You stretch your shoulders, you speak loud. That's also very important. Tone of our voice and also how we are pronouncing words. And non-verbal communication, as I said when I was speaking about practicing, that I will mention that we need to practice our non-verbal communication. And we need to practice physical movements, how we speak, how I stretch my hands, how I smile when I need to smile, look people in the eyes, not just one person, but make eye contact with the audience. But also we need to prepare vocally. Vocally is that word? Yeah. So speak loud enough. Use microphone if it is needed. But if you are not using microphone, speak that everyone hears you. Pronounce words correctly. Practice. It's really not good. Yeah, I can say it could be better. What's happening often when someone is preaching from the Old Testament and comes to the reading of the Hebrews names. And often people don't know how to pronounce and stop. And why? Practice. Practice. They are hard for all of us. Don't speak down that people don't understand. Speak clear and loud. And that is also area where we can use feedback. Today, many talks are recorded like this one today. Sometimes it's worth it to watch yourself. And just to watch, you can lower volume and just watch your body language and see what can be improved. It's also important to prepare yourself mentally for body language of the audience, especially if you are giving evangelistic talk. Because audience is communicating to speaker as well. We communicate verbally also, but audience is communicating only non-verbally. And there will be an audience, especially if you are giving evangelistic talk to non-Christian audience, there will be quite few people who disagree with you. And you would see that on their faces. So be ready for that. Don't come unprepared and be then disturbed or upset or by their non-verbal communication. And for the end, just few words on visual aid and arts. Why few words? Because we spoke a lot today about art. And at the morning session, we've heard really a lot and so good examples of how art can and should be used in our public talk to supplement talk, to communicate message in different way. And why short on visual aid? Because Zef and I don't have any presentation today. And actually, I'm not very often using presentations. I actually use them very rarely. Why? Because I don't think that I'm good in making good presentation. I think that it's counterproductive if we use bad presentation. If you are not good at it, maybe you can ask someone to help you. But also I have saying that some people like, I say, when you speak with the power, to the point, and then you don't need PowerPoint. What I want to say with that, I'm not against visual aid and PowerPoint. If your talk is good, PowerPoint can be very helpful. But if your talk is not good, there is no PowerPoint which will help you. And I think that visual aid, that PowerPoint has to be well done. Someone who knows how to do it. I don't think that I'm good enough. That's why I'm not using it. But I think that it can be great help in the public talk if it is well done. I'm just not right person to speak about it.